can see it right there. So what do you do when you take an ADC and you move him to mid lane? You get nothing. Because back in the day, Scorer was an ADC, and he moved to jungle, and he eventually won a split. Ambition was a mid laner. He went to jungle.
What's going on?
And he won a world championship.
Okay.
So you take a mid laner and bring him to ADC, and then now he has 5 titles because LEC, finals / third place match kind of thing. Recap, I guess. All right. So we talked about the different scenarios in which G2 are going to win the split. I said they were going to win like 3-1, and they won 3-0. So hey, it's been pretty good. So G2 won the split, but before that, Fnatic and Origen played. And, yeah, I don't really know what to say about that one. I think you have more to say about that than me.
Are you talking about the Fnatic versus Origen game?
Yeah, because I was the first one.
I mean, the first one, obviously, Alfari just completely bodied Whippo, which is unacceptable. Alfari's honestly has not been that good this year. I don't think he's been good for a bit.
He was good during their like 3-week run when they got to second.
Time. I'll admit, he had a small amount of time where I thought he was pretty great. Or not great, but decent. But for the most part, you shouldn't be completely bodied by Alfari. That's just unacceptable. Especially from Whippo, who's supposed to be the solid rock in the top lane.
They gave too much priority and drafted Whippo by giving him the Aatrox pick.
I mean, he's not an Aatrox one trick. I don't know why they kept trying that. Because
they tried to give him lane priority. They kept trying to give him the counter matchup.
Well, it obviously didn't work out.
It really didn't work out. Because Aatrox is good into Gangplank. Because you can destroy his barrels with your Q at a distance. You don't have to, go in front of him.
What?
I mean, that's a thing you can do. Plus, Aatrox is good with dive because they chose who did they give Brox? They gave him like.
Did you say you can destroy his barrels with your Q?
I'm pretty sure you can, right?
No, you have to auto attack them.
I mean, but like Aatrox doesn't really get punished by Gangplank in the top lane.
You can dash out of his thing, and I think that's the biggest reason. Plus, like again, it's hard to. You have multiple knockups, so his orange is kind of negated. I think that's the biggest reason. But I don't know if it's an insane counter unless you have to get a hold of him.
I want to see who did Broxa play in that series as jungler. He played in game 1. I think he played. Who did he play? He played a tanky jungler, didn't he? But nonetheless, they got destroyed, and I know a lot of Fnatic fans were kind of sad about that. Like,
it's not the Fnatic we honestly expected to come in, and it's not the one that should have came in.
I mean, they already were looking bad when they were playing against Splice. I think that was a pause for concern.
They should not have lost as hard as they did. Even the way they played against Splice would have, at the very least, brought this to 5 games. And if they played the way they did in the regular season, I feel like they would have won this pretty decently handily.
Yeah, because you still don't get the feeling that Origen were a good team, even in the second day going forward, because the thing with Fnatic is that in game 1, they played Sona Taric, and I don't think Reckless even said himself he's not a really good mage player. Why would you give Reckless Sona? He said he literally took off a split because he couldn't play mages. I don't know why they gave him Sona and Taric.
I mean, again, Sona is kind of less of a mage player because she is really kind of auto-attack based.
Yeah.
The rest of her abilities kind of do what for themselves. You run away.
You speed up, you heal. This is a basic support champion.
Yeah, it's like a singular auto. Obviously, you're not getting consistent damage out of her, but it does kind of function because most of your stuff is based around, like, you get one skill shot, which is even easier than the Varus one, so he should be fine with that. And then you get the one auto attack, and then you just run around for a little bit.
I think the nerves got to Nemesis. Like, he wasn't playing good in that series. I think the big crowd kind of like.
I mean, Nuke Duck carried that entire series. I'm gonna be honest.
But he was touted as second best mid laner during the split. So Nuke Duck's been playing really well. I like him.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate that everybody fell apart, and he had a really bad matchup in somebody who, again. Nemesis didn't lose extremely hard in comparison to Whippo. I can understand that the player's better than him. That's just fine enough. Nuke Tech's one of the best mid laners in the entire West. Where so is Alfari's nowhere near that level. And
there's definitely not a mid laner either.
Whippo should at the very least be close to his level. I think that he's been playing towards that area for most of the year. It was just kind of surprising to me that they played it like this poorly. Like Fnatic is not that bad.
They had their really hot streak. They went 11-1 toward the back end of the split. They only lost 1 game, and then they only lost 1 game in the playoffs before this. But in the Splice series, they didn't look good either. Like, I think that was a pause for concern in general. Like, if they look that bad against Splice, Origen they're not that much worse than Origen either. Comparing the teams.
Splice is quite a bit worse than Origen, I think.
But I mean, if they're already looking bad against a bad team, and they look worse against an even better team, it's gonna be like harder for them.
So what happened is, I think that Origen played pretty. I mean, in comparison to their G2 game, which I think G2 is obviously by far and away the best at this point. I do think they look better against, like, playing wise than in that series. It might be, again, weaker lane matchups might have been the best reason as to why they look better, but I do honestly think they looked like, again, there was a lot more map movements on Origen's part. They weren't playing reactionary in this series, more so as inside of the G2 matchup. Both times they were forced into a position where they had to react to everything.
I think a really underrated player into the Fnatic and Origin series was Mithy. Played really well. I feel bad for him because it wasn't even his fault they lost against G2.
I mean, he's honestly a great player. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna deny that he's been playing really well throughout the entire year. Like,
it kind of sucks though.
He's been. I mean, obviously, this has been his best season. I would say since his last time at G2.
I think so, right?
Even before, I'm talking about the first season of G2, because even then, his like last season in the G2 season, like the team, he was pretty poor. Like, I don't think he was.
I think the last time he was good, in my opinion, was when G2 won their first championship when he was on Origin.
Yeah, I think no, he was definitely good when he came out of G2 the first season.
Oh, when they went to Worlds during that summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was good.
He
after
fell
that,
off the next
yeah,
season.
right after that it was bad.
I think this is the best he's been since that first season on G2.
But after that, Origin beat Fnatic 3-1, and then they go on to face G2, where they get absolutely obliterated. It was the fastest series I think the West has ever seen by 30 minutes compared to the other fastest series. Like, games in North America aren't even that fast. Like, just how much they got absolutely just dismantled.
NA is naturally gonna be slower than EU. It's always been the case. I mean, I don't think. I mean, it's like 90% of the time G2. I mean, the EU scene is gonna be faster, so it's not too
Their players
surprising that this
know
was
when
the region.
I mean, the EU players kind of know when to push their advantages a lot quicker.
But I think that the biggest reason as to why I think this worked out so well for them is because, again, they had a lot of scrims against them. They had, and on top of the fact, a lot of Origin's ability to play the game comes off of their ability to kind of neutralize the laning pressure and then kind of try and make plays around with the support / jungle pressure.
Also, Origin do well with a game plan coming in. They don't do well on stuff that's being thrown at them on the fly.
Well, I mean, they didn't really get surprised. All of it was.
And that final comp was pretty much a surprise.
I'm just maybe one game, but for the most part, they lost 6 games against G2, and I think most of them were pretty tame stuff that they just didn't know how to handle.
Also, Cap said that they already beaten them 15 times in the scrims.
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
not like that was kind of already. They already knew pretty much they were going to.
So what happens? Like, again, their game plan as Origin is to neutralize the laning pressure, because again, you just want to go even in the lane, and then what you want is they don't win off of besides the mid lane, they don't really win off of lane dominance. They use the jungle and support, like, kind of roaming pressure to get the other lanes going, and then they make plays around the map trying to group as a team, and that's how they win the games. They can't do that against G2 because they can't roam, because they already lose the lanes as it is. Every single one besides maybe bot lane is a losing lane, and like it's kind of like
it's kind of bittersweet.
It's more. What I'm saying is it's kind of a counter match. This, like, I don't think Origin's as bad as they are against G2. I just think that G2 is a really, really poor matchup for them, because I think it's just a complete counter play style.
Because it was like I said before, I think star players for G2 are going to matter a lot too, because they have so much individual lane dominance out of 4 out of their 5 players.
I mean, again, I think the series would have went a lot better for both sides if Fnatic had won. I think Fnatic.
I was really hoping for G2 and Fnatic to play.
But yeah, I mean, again, I think that G2 would have probably thrilled them with the way they played against Origen, but I think that that is definitely the better matchup for all of it, because Fnatic is faster paced.
Fnatic have players that can match their players.
Well, I mean, maybe.
Can. Emphasis on can.
I think that Broxa was playing better in the playoffs than Cold was. I think that's the biggest.
I think so, reason. Yeah, I'd say that, yeah.
So I think that it might have been a better series for him. I think that all around, again, you don't want to you want to try and force stuff into the lane, with just solely the jungler, because the support's not going to be able to roam. You want to get stuff going in the bot lane. If you can force this bot lane, which I would say is the weakest lane for Origin, to fall behind, then you're good to go.
I think in the G2 series, it also shows that like if they can make up plans like that, they're going to be really hard to predict for at MSI too.
They're not going to, because again, I don't think that Perks is not good enough to compete on an international level.
We don't know that yet.
I've seen him compete here, and I don't think he's not competent. He's not. He's the weakest link on this entire team because he's not flexible. He's not able to play these normal ADCs besides maybe Lucian, Ezreal,
Draven sometimes.
I don't think his Draven's that good. I'm gonna be honest.
Like, but he's flexible in terms of like.
It doesn't matter if you bring flexibility in mages, because then everybody would just bring a secondary mid laner down there. That's not a good. You need that person able to play ADCs, because then you have that sustained damage if your burst comp won't work into this kind of tanky comp.
I think the real issue comes with what they said after they won is that like they're playing with Promise Q more than Mickey, and that's gonna be an issue because if Mickey, would you say is it better for him to get rest than play MSI?
Of course.
So that means you're playing Promise Q. That means bot lane's an instant loss for them.
No,
everywhere.
They're not playing. They're gonna play Mickey X at MSI.
But the problem is like if he doesn't get enough scrims,
he has definitely enough practice. He's fine. I don't think that they're not giving him. Again, the reason they used Promise Q was because mostly, again, you don't need them in what I would say was obviously it was a done deal. They like from the way both of those teams were playing. I think that the scrims you let him rest and get some solo queue in. And let, what's it called? Essentially, it gives you the ability to play a secondary support if you need it.
Yeah, and they said he's good in scrims, which, I mean, that's fine. He doesn't need to be on the stage.
But all around, I think that Mickey X is a great player. I think that when it comes down to the international stage, I'm a little worried for G2 because, again, I don't... The inability for them to play ADCs is going to be a big problem for them.
The lack of challenge in Europe, I would say.
I wouldn't say that because, again...
At a certain point, like, it looked like they were just...
They were coasting because they were that good. I think they're gonna, in my opinion, I think they're gonna decimate Team Liquid.
I don't know about that.
If they had a 5-game series, they probably win at the very least 4.
I think that this is an issue they went through back in 2016 when they were just like...
Team Liquid is too slow-paced. Team Liquid has worse macro. Team Liquid has worse laners.
G2 don't really have macro, so that's gonna kind of balance out.
No, it's not. It's literally their macro is smash the game and then
you
push their
can't
advantages.
win after that. Yeah.
Team Liquid's is scaled till late, and then hope we can team fight better. That's their macro.
Hopefully, Core JJ moves us around the map because we're not moving ourselves.
Like again, the reason that I don't think Team Liquid's going to put up any fight against G2 is because honestly, their lanes are too weak.
I mean, Jensen is fine. Jensen will be okay. Fine against Caps.
Whatever, Jensen will be okay. Good
Impact is going to get absolutely dismantled.
Exactly. That is the big problem here. I don't think Xmithy is good enough on the international stage either. Double Lift and Core JJ are going to be okay.
Yeah.
But for the most part,
the top side is really it's going to hurt them.
It's not even just that. Again, they're too slow paced. Their shot calling is too slow. Like he's just
they don't react quick enough.
Well, their reaction is the only way they play. They don't make the plays happen until later. Like either if it's early game, it's gonna be Core JJ making the plays. For the most part, they wait until mid game and then just try and snowball off that. And that's not going to work against these powerhouses coming out.
But if G2 go to MSI and get blasted, would it be a similar thing that they went through back a couple years ago when they had Perks, Hybrid, and Emperor?
The thing about it is
because they weren't challenged in their own league.
We can see them play though. Like the thing about it is we see them make these decisions. If they go there and play worse, then obviously it's just worse playing. I'm not gonna say that
it's the region that's making them worse.
Obviously, it's not because again, they're obviously at the level they're playing at. I think they can compete with a lot of the teams.
I think at worst they should be top 4 at the event going in.
I mean, they're easily top 4. I don't think.
I think Liquid has a chance to get out of groups this time around, but I don't think it's like.
Well, again, 4 teams go out of the groups, and it's probably gonna be China.
IG,
Korea,
SKT.
Yeah, just like those 4 teams are probably going to be the things.
I don't think the LMS or the other regions.
I don't know enough about the LMS. I'm not going to say anything. I don't think Vietnam's really that good. I haven't checked them out, but again, they have not produced a team where I thought besides kind of
Gigabyte Marines.
No, even them, they weren't insane out. That's all they relied on. They've never had and kind of cheesy.
They relied literally on cheese to win.
Like, again, I don't think... the challenge isn't to get out of groups. The challenge is to be a competent enough top-tier... be a top-tier region.
Yeah.
That's going to be the deciding factor. Team Liquid needs to step it up. But G2, I think that they're going to be also... They're also going to be in trouble They're going to rely solely... Like, again, if they can get the lanes going... Because Jankos is pretty decent right now. He's getting a lot of early game pressure.
Jankos, Wonder, and Caps are good enough. Is that good enough to carry them against the top tier teams? Because even against... So let's say if they go to MSI, let's say their first match is up against, like, Faker and Clid and Khan. Their only real strength comes from that top lane, that top side of the map. Because Teddy and Mata are going to probably dismantle Perks and Mickey in lane.
Okay, so if they go against SKT, Khan is going to get a carry. Khan is going to win that lane. The bot lane is going to lose to SKT.
They're going to lose really bad.
SKT is just going to win. I mean, Faker gets Caps.
Maybe Caps can handle them off.
All he has to do is survive, and that's fine enough.
Because Caps is really good outside of the lane, too. He's really great in team fights. He's really good at picking people off.
Jankos versus...
Clid? Oh, God. God bless his soul.
Yeah, Clid is just better. Clid is
better than Tarzan. Tarzan was the best jungler in Korea.
Clid is better mechanically.
I mean, but overall, he kind of showed that he was better toward the very end.
I think Tarzan is still the better jungler.
But like, if they're both like tied for the first, like
I would say that Tarzan's probably still better, but I do think that Clid mechanically is the best jungler.
They're pretty much like G2. SKT or G2 about the same. It's like they have like worse players in all the positions, kind of.
So I think if they go against IG, Top is gonna get dismantled.
Like, cause he faced the shot before and he got destroyed.
Rookie's is kind of in a slump right now, but I do think they're gonna lose that lane.
That's weird though, because Rookie just beat the best mid laner in.
He didn't win that lane. He did not.
Win. He beat him a couple times.
No, that was not. That was Knight was literally trying to solo carry.
I mean, you have to in that team. There's not much you can do with them. Who else is on? I mean, I would say that if G2 go in and beat SKT, I wouldn't be surprised because they're not
very surprised.
Because remember, at the end of the day, they're all pro players. They all can outplay each other at certain points.
That's just a stupid way to
generic
think about stuff,
PR generic stuff.
It is.
But I mean, like
everybody's a pro player. I mean, look at it. The Vietnamese people are pro players, but do you expect them to go in there and beat SKT? You don't. Like, the reason that we think this is because the quality of the players are just worse. But I think that G2, honestly, is going to be NA. I think they have a good chance against...
At worst, I could say they go 1-1 with TL. I could see, like, G2 having a disrespectful draft and then TL punishing them for that. I could see him going 1-1. I don't see him, like, G2 2-0ing TL.
I honestly could see, like, if G2 can fix up, like, essentially draft a comp that kind of covers up, and the enemy team does not go into a tank comp, like, have at least two pretty strong front lines, I can see G2 doing fine, because you need two front lines, because, again, the sustained damage is not going to be there with perks. If you pick that 2 tank comp, then I don't think they have anybody to pick off, like, most of the players on this team. Which is going to be a big problem, because a massive amount of tank items just got buffed.
True. And then the very last thing before we exit out is Caps 1 MVP. Any thoughts about that?
I honestly didn't expect it. I'm going to be real.
I thought he was my second, but behind Cabochard. I thought Cabochard played better. Because it's an in-split award. So I think that, like,
I think Wonder played substantially better throughout the entire...
he played really well.
I think that, again... Caps did carry the beginning of the season for them. I think it was him and the Yankos, though. I think it was a dual part, but the later half of the season was just pure Wonder.
Wonder was just, like, manhandling everybody.
I think that I would have preferred to give it to Cabochard, like, in my opinion.
I feel like he deserved it way more. He was, like, robbed.
I wouldn't say way more, but I think that he was not as popular because he's not as popular of a player or on a popular team.
Because, like, MVP means who's the most valuable player to the league or to your team. Because it's really different with sports. Because, like, with traditional sports, it's the person that's the most valuable to the league. In league, in other esports, it's different because it's more team focused. So how would you determine, like, Cabochard is the most valuable player in the league itself?
Okay, the way it works is MVP is the most valuable player for what he's doing. He's providing the most valuable asset, whatever asset it be. Like,
yeah.
You could be a supportive player. You could be all this thing engage. But the reason I think that Cabochard actually deserved it again is because I think if you take Cavs out of G2, they're still a pretty strong team. I think they're weaker in general. If they get an average, they won't be dominant.
They would probably still be at least top 3.
You take Cabochard out of...
Vitality.
What's it called? And they're literally not even in playoffs. They're not in playoffs. They're not in...
They're probably Excel esports level.
They're probably worse than them. To be honest, by the end of the split, Excel would have been better than them.
That's kind of sad.
I think it's not. Excel looked good during the later half of the split, but the reason, like, again, I like Caps. He did a massive amount for the scene. I think he's one of the best mid laners in the entire, like... It's very, very arguable that it's between him and Bjergsen, in my opinion, for the best mid laner in the West.
Yeah.
I think that
we're not saying Caps doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying that there was someone better than him that deserved it, pretty much.
I'm not gonna say that I'm like again. There's a lot of things that I could. Maybe he's shot calling well.
I mean, but we've heard their comms. Like Cabochard literally shot calls.
We only hear this highlights of it. We don't hear enough of it.
Yeah.
So they could obviously even during the major fights maybe, but for the most part we don't see enough of the comms to know enough. So I'm gonna say that I'm not upset about it because Caps was playing really well this year, but I do think that I would have picked Cabochard myself. So,
yeah, I mean, I did have Caps as my second MVP, so I mean, he got it. So I mean, I guess I know how to pick my talent out.
Very, very hard of you. I'm just
very hard of me.
Very smart of you to pick Caps.
Your English is really good.
Oh yeah, the one that can't say library right.
What?
Okay, so
the one who doesn't get the girls.
Oh, you got.
Oh god.
Okay, so that's pretty much it.
That's LEC. The next one is the NALCS.
See you later.